The New Orleans Pelicans and the Big 870 WWL proudly presents Pelicans Weekly. It's a weekly radio magazine focused on the Pelicans, the fans, and the NBA. We'll get the latest from Pelicans players, coaches, and front office staff. Plus, we'll check in with our experts around the league. Tonight's show is brought to you by Smoothie King. Rule the day. Chevron, the human energy company. By Energy, we power life. And by New Age Products, official garage and outdoor kitchen provider of the New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans Weekly on the Big 870 starts now. Here's your host, Gus Kattengell.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Gus Kattengell, and welcome to Pelicans Weekly, where we will recap the week that was, look at the week that will be, and everything in between on this Christmas Eve. Coming up next segment, the voice of the Pelicans, Todd Graffagnini, sits down with Pelicans senior writer on Pelicans.com, Mr. Jim Eichenhofer. I was told I had to say Mr. Jim Eichenhofer. Anyway, Pelicans 0-3 since we last spoke and currently on a 7-game losing streak. Last Thursday, the team at Houston to face the Rockets for the first time this year. This is how it sounded like on the Pelicans radio network. Todd Graffagnini, the voice of the Pels, with the call.
And the rebound, Jordan Hawkins. Outlet to her. Her front court right. Hand it off to McCollum for three. Got it. And that will put McCollum all alone in second place all time in Pelicans franchise history. That's his 561st made three, just past Brandon Ingram. If you're faint of heart, cover your ears. Pels have 23 points in this quarter. Jalen Green has 22 himself in the third quarter. Bounce feed to Yves. Has it in the lane. Dunk it down. Double-double for Yves Missi. His 7th of the year.
133-113 the final. A 39-25 first quarter helped lead the way for the Rockets as they knocked down 7 of the 17 threes in the game that they made in the opening frame. Head coach Willie Green on the loss.
Yeah, it started in the first quarter. They got out to an early start, early lead, and a lot of it had to do with our lack of physicality against these guys. You got to be locked in for 48 minutes, communicating defensively, finishing possessions. They got out in transition. They got points in the paint. So we just gave them too much, and it started in the first quarter. I thought as the game progressed, we got a little bit better. But a team like this, you can't give them that momentum. And our guys understand, with our margin for error being small, it's harder for us to make up, that deficit.
Trey Murphy had 28 points, splashed 4 threes in the game. His take on what happened?
Just get up a lot of threes, especially when guys hit one. You got to forget the scouting report sometime and just treat them like they're a shooter, try to, get better contests out there.
All right, so next up, a back-to-back over the weekend. The New York Knicks were up first.
Dejounte, his 8th. Up the floor,
Give it up.
Dump it off to Trey Murphy. And a right hand alley-oop punch.
Kenneth the third.
Missi, hand it off to McCollum. Bounce feed to Trey. Pop a deep 3. Nope. Rebound Cat.
Yeah, they're not going to go away.
Brunson, right angle 3. Yep. McCollum all the way in, tied up by Sims. Bounce feed to Murphy. Free ball left wing good. 90-79. Again, John, the way this game has gone, and you look up at the scoreboard and you're down by this many points, it's almost unfathomable.
Yeah.
It happens so quickly. 3-ball Brunson again.
Look, you can't. Well, you know what?
They obviously can't hear you, John.
He's just cooking. He's just cooking.
There's nothing you can do.
Jalen Brunson finishing with 39 points in the 104-93 Knick win over the Pelicans. Head coach Willie Green.
They're a veteran team, and Brunson got it going. And when he gets it going, it energizes their whole team. And we threw different looks at him. We tried to take the ball out of his hands, blitzed him. We sent 2 guys at him. And then the start of the fourth quarter, I think it's a 3-point game. The start of the fourth quarter, and we got our younger group in the game right as they're making their run momentum, and our guys needed a quick break. and they're a good team. They're a veteran team. They know how to, execute in those moments, and it's a learning experience for us, especially for our young group.
Trying to finish a full 48 minutes. Again, the message from head coach Willie Green. So could they do it again in less than 24 hours as they had to take on the Denver Nuggets an hour earlier? 6 o'clock was the tip time on Sunday. You know what? It was a battle.
Murray lost it. Great job, Herb Jones. Taken by McCollum. Up the floor, Herb. Alley-oop Trey. And a right-hand throwdown.
That'll get the people up out of their seats and cheering here on a Sunday night.
Defense leading to offense. You love the transition there. Pels up 11-10. Hawkins off the curl. Papa straightaway three. Front iron no good. Rebound Jokic. Chests it up the floor to MPJ. And Hawkins with the block, and it deflects right to Brown, and there's Hawkins again to rip it away.
Talk about some defense by Hawks.
Jordan Hawkins single-handedly saved 2 points. You got to call 2 blocks on that. McCollum around a Missi pick to Trey Murphy. Deep left wing three. Yes!
Ooh, real deep.
So the streak continues for Trey Murphy. 2+ threes now in 22 straight games. That's an NBA high. Murray, dump it down to the slashing Jokic. Airballs one, and we volleyball it back out to McCollum. 2-on-1. Alley-oop Trey. Catch it. Dunk it. Timeout Denver. It is a thing of beauty to hear this arena loud and proud. That all started from Yves Missi, who blocked Jokic's point-blank shot, and that led to the fast break. Yves Missi is everywhere tonight. Whip it over the top to Westbrook. Lost it! Steal Missi. Get it to McCollum. Chest it to Hawkins. Fake the three, and now the mid-range. 15 feet for Hawkins down.
There you go, Hawk. Way to come right back in the game and be effective.
Double figures for Jordan Hawkins. He's got 12. 100-96. Your double-digit lead is now 4 in a blink of an eye. 13-4 run. Hawkins off the curl. Line drive three! Buried it right at the top. Stay hot, Hawk.
That is just filthy.
25 for Hawkins. You're down 1. Dejounte to CJ. Papa straightaway three!
There you go, CJ McCollum. Getting the bucket when it matters.
Well beyond the arc for Christian James. 119, 117, 45 seconds left, you're up 2. Now Joker down, low block by Missi. Are you kidding me? And now a late whistle.
Wow.
They call it goaltend on Missi.
That's unbelievable.
Kick it to Westbrook, double pump, crosses over, goes left baseline, throws it up, no, tipped up in the air, and it's taken off the rim by CJ McCollum. Shot clock, game clock, 2 seconds apart.
They played around too much.
You're down 2 points. McCollum drives, pops, left elbow. No. Rebound, Jokic. Shot clock is off. Outlet pass to Jamal Murray, who's fouled at the timeline.
132-129 the final as both teams went into overtime. What a battle.
We're extremely proud of their effort, their togetherness. They went out and competed, and they accepted the challenge to put 2 nights in a row where we gave ourselves opportunities to win games. Unfortunately, the results aren't there that we want. We want the win, but we have to continue to do what we did tonight. We just battled, the whole game, and our game plan discipline was at a high level. Unfortunately, a couple plays, key plays down the stretch, a 50-50 ball, I think it was. They pick it up, score. We just got to continue to do what we did tonight.
What a job by some of the players in last night's game. Trey Murphy, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals before going down with an injury himself, landing on an ankle. We'll see how he is before the end of the week's games. A back-to-back, we'll get to that in a second. Jordan Hawkins, 25 points off the bench. Yves Missi, though, 21 points. That block you heard that did not turn out to be a goaltend. What was it like on that play?
I was 100% sure he wasn't goaltending because I got away before he was going down. So he's pretty fast. I mean, some people don't see, but he's pretty fast, especially when he's cutting to the basket like that. So it was just like something I saw on film today. And I was just trying to anticipate it.
Did you feel like you had to block it with the left, though, because of the angle and everything else?
Yeah, I had to go with the left because if I went to the right, I had to turn my body. So the left was the quickest one.
All right. Well, regardless, it's a loss. Now the Pels have a couple of days off. After Christmas, they'll get back at it here with 2 games to end the work week. There'll be a set of back-to-back Houston and Memphis. Head coach Willie Green after the game yesterday. What's the goal when they get back from the Christmas break?
Yeah, we'll take these 3 days, recover, get together on Christmas Eve, watch film, get a good practice in, and continue to watch the things that we're doing well. Make sure we go out and implement those as we move forward. Continue to try to talk about some ways that we can improve and just challenge each other to step on the floor and go after it.
When we come back, Todd Graffagnini sits down with Pelicans.com's Jim Eichenhofer. You're listening to Pelicans Weekly on WWL.
Welcome back to Pelicans Weekly. Here's the voice of the New Orleans Pelicans, Todd Graffagnini, with this week's interview.
Welcome back to a special Christmas Eve edition of Pelicans Weekly. Todd Graffagnini now joining you on the show, and a very special guest for this segment, Pelicans.com senior writer Jim Eichenhofer, who is the longest tenured Pelican in the building. How long have you been here, Jim?
It's been 19 years as of November 30th.
I think you win the prize.
I mean, maybe in this building there are a couple people that have been here longer than me, including the equipment manager.
Okay.
David
you know what?
Javonovich, big
you're
shot.
Exactly
He's
right.
been here longer.
No, you're exactly right.
He's got me beat by a bunch of years.
I amend that statement, but 19 years is long enough. All right, Jim, let's talk about the weekend before we get into the Christmas stuff here. Back-to-back against the Knicks and the Nuggets. Very competitive games. I think the way that the Pelicans played was pleasing. Mm-hmm. You don't like the result, but the energy, the effort was there. Unfortunately, it's kind of the same old thing. It's that one bad quarter that does you in. Against the Knicks, it was Jalen Brunson taking over the game basically midway through the third quarter, and then against Denver, it was the fourth quarter with Nikola Jokic taking over. But you got to really had to have liked the effort by the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it 2 ways. I mean, we know this is a bottom line business where, the thing that matters at the end of the day is wins and losses. But I do think that they're taking steps forward in terms of just much more competitive games. We've had some stretches lately where you're down 20-something points in the first half. You're down by so much that in the third quarter, you're already ready to put your deep reserves in the game, the guys that haven't played at all. So that wasn't a consideration at all in these last 2 games. So, I mean, I definitely think that part of it is a positive. The fact that, I mean, the Knicks are one of the best teams in the East, and the Nuggets won a championship in 2023. And you're playing them, for the most part, on even footing. I mean, that Denver game was such a coin flip game. So that part of it I definitely think is encouraging. And as it feels like the schedule never gets easier this year. And I saw on NBA.com that they still have the second toughest schedule to date in the NBA. But it does feel like if you play like, and I've said this before, unfortunately, but it feels like if you keep playing like this, the wins will start to come in some kind of form.
Jim, we have to talk about Yves Missi. What he has done has been nothing short of remarkable. 21st pick in the draft. I mean, there's, you've got your scouts in the building, and they were high on Yves in his one-and-done year out of Baylor, but I don't think, if anybody said they would have expected what we have seen from Summer League, when you saw him in Las Vegas, to what he has become now, still very, very early in his rookie year, it's just been remarkable.
It really has. I mean, I think he's one of those things where everyone appreciates the way he's been playing from game to game. I think the fans really embraced him. If you think about it, even the first game of the season against Chicago, people already were on board with, like, this guy's got potential, and he's also producing right now. But I think we're going to appreciate what he's done even more in the offseason. We don't know what the course of the future is going to be here in terms of what moves they're going to be able to make, but how big is it, the fact that not only did they add somebody who seems to be a building block foundation piece with the 21st pick in the draft, but they also are doing it at center, which is a position that they felt like they had to figure out, and they had to kind of go a different way with that. So, I mean, to me, he's going to be one of those guys that the development that he's made has been such a positive amid a season that has really gone in a bad direction in several other ways.
I mean, the kid, and I can say kid because he's 20 years old, Jim, he has a legitimate chance now, if this continues, to be the rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You look at all the other rookies in the league, they're not performing up to the level that he is on a night in and night out basis.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think that to his credit as well, some of the guys that were picked in the lottery, or say the top 10, they were all handed opportunities and they didn't necessarily run with them. I think a lot of the guys in the early part of this year's draft have kind of shown that they're not ready for playing 30, 35 minutes a game. They're not ready to be starters. He was kind of in the opposite position where it was like your plan was for him to play maybe as a backup, for him to play here and there, to develop slowly. And then immediately he's in the starting lineup. It only took him a few games. So, I mean, that part of it to me is the most surprising and the most kind of astonishing, is the fact that in a draft where a lot of the players that came in were put in a position where it was like you're going to have every chance that you can to help the team win. A guy that gets picked 21st and also was discussed as a quote-unquote project is doing what he's doing, and against the kind of competition that he's had lately where, I mean, he's hanging in there with Jokic over the course of the game and putting up kind of similar stats. That's just been so impressive with what Yves has done so far.
All right, Jim, let's get to the real important stuff. It is Christmas Eve, and I know your family is in town, and the Pelicans, fortunately or unfortunately, have a few days off, and we're home. So I would say that's a very good thing. But what is, what did a kid who grew up in upstate New York, what was the Christmas agenda back then? Because I'm sure you had a lot of white Christmases up there.
Yeah, we definitely did. I mean, it's funny because it feels like the opposite here, where people here are like, man, it would be so cool if it snowed on Christmas. And when is the last time it snowed on Christmas Day?
It actually snowed on Christmas Day, the December before Katrina hit.
Did it really?
December 2000. So I think we're all very superstitious people down there.
So maybe we don't want to see that then.
We should have seen that coming maybe, but it snowed on Christmas Day in December 2004.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it was always cold. Growing up, it was always cold. It was always pretty snowy. So it's funny, my family is coming in on Christmas morning. They're going to leave New York at like 6 a.m. and they're going to get here. They are so excited that it's going to be 73.
Yeah.
I think the high right now for Wednesday is 73. So my nephew, who's 13 years old, is going to be headed to the pool if it's 70-something degrees. I mean, when he was 6 or 7 years old, he was jumping in the outdoor pool over here by Elmwood, even if it was in the 60s. So, I mean, you take someone from the New York winter and you bring them down here, oh, they're in heaven. They love it.
All right, Jim, finally, what is your wish to Santa for the New Orleans Pelicans?
My wish is to get more wins, but I think just maybe more specifically than that, because that's kind of obvious, is just for a bunch of the guys to start playing at the level that we know that they're capable of. There's a bunch of players on this team that if you even with some of the players that are out right now, it feels like they could be getting more wins. And I mean, sometimes it's come down to a possession or two. So I know people from the outside might say, they're out of the race. How much difference does it make of the way that they close the season? But I think we would be feeling so much better if they had a couple more wins. And I mean, there's 52 games left in the season, so I don't want to see the losing continue at the rate it's going. They're going to have to figure out ways to pick up more wins, and then when you get some more guys back in the lineup, hopefully in January, you're going to see a totally different team, and maybe this offseason we'll be able to look back and say, they, at least for part of the year, they showed the potential that they could be a good team.
Well, Jim, as you know, Santa knows all. He is very busy this time of year. He's about to embark on his journey, but hopefully everything you just said, Santa will comply with. Jim, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on Thursday night in the SKC.
Merry Christmas to you, Graff, and I have to say, one of my wishes for Santa, which was to appear on the Pelicans Weekly Show, has already come true. And so it's already a good Christmas for me.
It is the season of giving here on Pelicans Weekly. We'll come back, wrap up the show with Gus Kattengell after these messages on WWL.
Welcome back to Pelicans Weekly on WWL. Now, back to Gus Kattengell.
Our thanks to Todd Graffagnini and Jim Eichenhofer. The Pelicans will play 3 games before we meet again next week on New Year's Eve. Houston is in town on Thursday, and then it's Memphis on a back-to-back on Friday night. Monday, the 5-game homestand wraps up with the Clippers in town. All 3 games will tip off at 7 o'clock. For Todd Graffagnini, I'm Gus Kattengell. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, and we'll see you next week on Pelicans Weekly right here on WWL.
Pelicans Weekly was brought to you by Smoothie King. Rule the day. Ochsner Health System, the official healthcare provider of the New Orleans Pelicans. Keesler Federal Credit Union, official credit union of the New Orleans Pelicans. SeatGeek, get your seat in a seat. And Morris Bart, if you know, you know. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on Pelicans Weekly, right here on WWL. Let's go, Pels!